I'm Kendall.
And I'm Jordan with News Channel ENV 101. And today we're going to be talking about how hurricanes affect climate change.
3 huge hurricanes that affected us in the past few years have been Hurricane Michael, Hurricane Irma, and Hurricane Dorian. These natural disasters have caused major damage.
And now we'll go to Misha, who covers Hurricane Michael.
Hurricane Michael is on its way with projected winds at 155 miles an hour. It's going to make landfall as a Category 4 on Wednesday, early October 8th. You can see that it's raining here and it's really windy. And I mean, this is just a crazy storm. How do you feel about this crazy weather headed our way?
Well, I'm from here, so I'm kind of used to it.
But do you think that Michael's been a crazier storm than anything like Florence or Irma like you've seen before?
No, everyone knows the rules by now.
Thank you, Misha, for the update.
Yeah, it looks crazy out there.
Olivia, what can you tell us about Hurricane Michael?
Hurricane Michael made landfall at 2 p.m. October 10th, 2018. Had the top sustained winds of 155 miles per hour. Hurricane Michael has a central pressure of 919, making it the strongest U.S. hurricane.
Now that we've talked about Michael, Jess is going to talk about Hurricane Irma.
Though Irma was before Michael, it seems like Irma had almost the same amount of damage. The two hurricanes were very similar, though being almost a year apart.
Michael hit areas including Cuba, Florida, specifically the Panhandle, Mexico Beach, Georgia, and more.
Irma, on the other hand, hit Florida, St. Martin, Puerto Rico, the Caribbean, Cuba, the Bahamas, and lots of other smaller islands. Now to Jess to cover Irma.
Hurricane Irma was a Category 5 with winds blowing at 185 miles per hour for 37 hours straight. Irma formed August 30th, 2017 and dissipated September 14th, 2017. In the lower Florida Keys, it hit land at 1 p.m. on Sunday, September 10th as a Category 3 storm with winds at 110 miles per hour. It affected mainly northeastern Caribbean and southern Florida, and it caused $77.16 billion in damages to Cuba and the Leeward Islands, 134 deaths, and it was coined the most intense hurricane to hit the United States since Hurricane Katrina in 2005.
As a news station located in Florida, Irma hit close to home for us.
Local college students at FGCU were forced to evacuate campus for over a week. During this time, classes were canceled and dorms were flooded, causing chaos when students returned.
Irma also caused terrible damage to Florida homes in the southern region. This led homeowners to be forced to take days or even weeks off work to repair damages. Irma was the strongest Atlantic basin hurricane ever recorded outside the Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean Sea. The short version is, climate change makes these very bad storms worse, causing totally disastrous and catastrophic damage.
Irma was a tragedy that wreaked havoc on the lower Florida Keys, as well as Puerto Rico, Cuba, the Caribbean, the Bahamas, and many other areas.
Unlike Irma, Dorian did not hit Florida. However, it did just as much damage on the Bahamas as Irma did in places like Barbuda and the Dominican Republic.
And now to Chantel for more on Dorian.
Hurricane Dorian struck land in the Bahamas between August 24th, 2019 to September 10th, 2019. It had winds up to 183 miles per hour. Dorian caused $4.68 billion in damage and had 73 deaths. The storm was so devastating that it left 70,000 people homeless.
Here in South Florida, we prepared for the worst, but got lucky enough to barely receive a lot of damage.
Miami was hit with the outer bands, but nothing compared to what the islands experienced. Let's take a look at some clips from this horrible storm.
Hurricane Dorian was an extremely powerful and devastating Category 5 hurricane that became the most intense tropical cyclone on record to strike the Bahamas and became the country's worst natural disaster in history. It also hit areas including Puerto Rico, Iceland, Greenland, and the eastern United States, as well as Canada.
As you can see, climate change is having a huge impact on how storms affect us. But do you know why?
No, but let's turn it over to Jess to find out. Hurricanes thrive over warm water and strengthen in intensity. Oceans have warmed on an average of about 1 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit over the past century. Sea levels have risen about 7 inches during that time. When you throw in the mix of compound flooding, rising sea levels from global warming, storm surge, and extreme rainfall, you have the perfect mix for record flooding.
Well, there you have it, folks.
Hurricanes Michael, Irma, and Dorian have each had a different impact on the Earth as the climate has steadily changed over the years.
Hurricanes obviously are not the only kind of weather that's affected by climate change, but this is something that all of us can relate to living here in Southwest Florida.
Tune in August to see how the 2020 hurricane season is affected by climate change. I'm Kendall.
And I'm Jordan with News Channel ENV 101.
Thank you.
And good night.